You're listening to the Ask a Theologian podcast, where we explore the intersection between theology and everyday life. Before we get started today, don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. You can grab a coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode. Everybody, welcome to today's edition of the Ask a Theologian podcast. I am thrilled today to have Dr. Rick Wadholm Jr. Wadholm Jr. It's got to be a story with that. It's not theological, but but welcome to the broadcast today. Dr. Wadholm's been an educator for years. We're going to call him an honorary Canadian. He did his, graduate school in Manitoba. Anyone that does a graduate school in Manitoba, Manitoba, you get kudos from the rest of the country for sure. And his PhD from Bangor University in Wales, which has a great Pentecostal studies program there, and which I'm hoping to be enrolled in this year too. So that's good. So he's also written numerous books, involved with a number of societies, and just thrilled to have him with us today. Welcome, Dr. Wadholm.
Thank you. Yeah, we take the honor of the honorary Canadian welcome.
I was recently talking to, I don't know if you know Joseph Dutko. So Joseph was on the podcast, and of course he's an American but living in Canada, and he said, well, look, hang on, I've got dual citizenship, so I get some kudos on that. But
right, got a bunch of family with dual citizenship. I just don't happen to.
Yeah. Well, you're pretty close to the border a few times in your life, for sure. Yeah.
Most of my pastoral life was right across the border, and then lots of ministry in the Plains provinces, the provinces, so.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, really glad to have you here today. We're going to be talking about the Bible. Imagine that on Ask a Theologian, that we're going to talk about the Bible. And when we were chatting on Facebook and said, hey, what would you like? I was just really enthralled by your response about Ezekiel. Anything Ezekiel, anything, that's, I don't hear that very often. I mean, that's kind of like, Ezekiel, that's one of those books that most Christians go like, Revelation and Ezekiel, can we just kind of skip them? With all the trippy
it's weird stuff.
Visions, and it's weird stuff. Yeah. So like maybe on the start, why would somebody, an average church believer, want to read this book? What's there? Why should they not avoid it?
Yeah, besides being the Word of God, which we, have this cute little confession that we say, oh yeah, all Scripture's inspired. But in our practice, we kind of care really about specific texts and don't care about a whole bunch of others. Like we say lip service, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think, in some ways, because Ezekiel I feel like it's a prophetic slap across the face, right? You don't get what you expect from a lot of scripture with a book like Ezekiel, right? It feels like as you turn from chapter to chapter, doesn't get clearer as it goes. The weird hangs out all throughout, but it's an inconsistent weirdness, right?
I love it. The weird hangs out the whole book.
And it's just kind of relentless, 48 chapters of this, and the strange audio visual experiences of the Son of Man. So you find every time I return to the book of Ezekiel, taught in a local church, a rural country church, all the way through verse by verse, which I didn't think through ahead of time, because there are some chapters that should make anyone blush.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if you know this tradition. There's rabbinic tradition that women and men under 30 are not allowed to read the book of Ezekiel.
Really?
Just not, they're excluded because it's so problematic. That the concerns are you're going to get it wrong, it's too inappropriate, all of this. So you need to be male and over 30.
So let me get this right. You can read Song of Songs.
Correct.
But you can't read Ezekiel.
Right. So imagine that. Okay, so now think about this. So in fact, Song of Songs is used in the liturgy, the annual liturgy for Passover festival.
Right.
But Ezekiel, no. Just, no. This is like a private group study, right? Like, wait, Song of Songs is a festival text. Ezekiel is, we need a private cohort of older guys, as if older guys are mature. Right.
Well, there we go.
So it's a problematic text. In its history of reception, it's a problematic book. Yeah.
So then why should the average person read it?
I think because Ezekiel invites us to experience the Lord in ways unexpected, right? So there are things that happen to Ezekiel, like being transported by his hair by the Spirit. Right? That's just bizarre. What do you do with that? And it's not once, it happens a couple times, right?
Right.
Visions, for instance, of the cherubim, these living creatures in chapters 1 and 10, which influence then actually John the Revelator's vision. So, I mean, those books being connected, the Revelation and Ezekiel.
Right.
John never quite quotes, likes to borrow, and it's like re-inspirited, imagined, something like this. The Lord is guiding him, but it's like things have shifted.
Right.
But Ezekiel is already doing that. Much that had been received is reimagined. The temple is reimagined. The land is reimagined.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
So it's very direct about the presence of the Lord in his house,
Right.
which actually isn't how the book opens. The book opens with the presence of the Lord going towards the exiles.
Right. The whole storm and
Yeah. And like
so talk about that. Talk about that.
What is that? What is going on here? So Ezekiel, like it opens, he's by the river Kabar. He is off in Babylonian exile.
Right.
He's a priest who has just come of age, actually, precisely 30 years old.
Right.
And he should be entering into his priestly duties, doing priest duties, a certain film, Nato Libre, refers to, That's my level of maturity. Yeah, his priestly duties. And
That you know to modern culture.
exactly, yeah, that's already like 20 years old or something like that, 25 years old. Anyways, like looks and he sees this experience by a fake river that's been basically cut out by exiles who were brought there before to help with the agriculture of Babylon. And you're thinking, why is the God of Israel showing up here? He's a long way from home. And like, we don't think that way as Christians, but that's what this is like. What is the Lord doing with his glory showing up among the exiles? These are the folks who, as far as the folks who were left behind, this is like Ezekiel goes in 605, but this is like shortly after that initial exile. The temple still stands, but Yahweh's not in his house.
Right.
And then by chapter 10, he gets on his mobile throne, guided by these cherubim and these wheels within wheels covered in everything eyeballs. His mobile throne covered in eyeballs. It's almost like a Tesla. It's looking at everything.
Okay, don't mess with my Tesla.
Oh, yeah. And also maybe there's a copyright infringement with doing podcast. I don't know. Okay. But like it's like
$1 trillion.
It's like these self-driving cars. They're looking at everything.
Right.
That's what this throne is. It's covered in eyes. And it literally lifts off and he leaves his house. What you call a God's temple or a God's house is temple. That's just the word. Right. Kind of like a poor person. Oh, they live in a shack or, like I grew up, trailers and, stuff like that. Or
Sure. Yeah.
What do you call a God's house, his residence? It's temple. That's literally just the name for a house for a God. He left his house on his mobile throne. And he heads across the Valley Kidron over to actually what's the Mount of Olives, where Jesus will spend his time. Right. And then he takes off, flies off to the north, towards the exiles. This is the direction towards the exiles. Even though we already saw him in chapter 1, showing up to visit with Ezekiel on his mobile throne. Right? Like, so...
I'm never going to read Ezekiel the same.
So this is a long answer for you. Ask, like, why should it matter? Because this is a message to those in exile. Who feel like the Lord has abandoned them.
Right.
And there's always folks who find this. Now, there are plenty of folks who feel like, oh, the Lord's just with us. He's right here with us. Well, there's a lot of other folks who don't feel that. They feel that the Lord has abandoned them. Maybe they're even under his judgment.
Right.
And that's why they're in exile, metaphoric, whatever. These folks are literally in exile. And the Lord's saying, I'm with you. I did a short piece several years back reflecting on Yahweh as the homeless God. I suppose now we would say unhoused, the unhoused God, right? Sure. He is unhoused. But a homeless God could conceive of such a thing that this God would abandon his house and choose to live among his people in a foreign land that is ruled by other gods. Right?
Beautiful.
Yeah. Beautiful story. It's beautiful, except Ezekiel's definitely not beautiful, right? Ezekiel's full of profanity. I don't just mean like swearing, right? Like
Yes.
the
Yeah.
profaning of the land, profane,
Yeah.
like grotesquely profane. And so the Lord uses every possible story and song and proverb and image to persuade them of just how bad they are. And and it's actually a message to those who were left behind, that they're the ones in trouble, who didn't go on the
Really?
first exile. So the 605 exile, you got these folks who say, well, the Lord must have taken care of all those baddies, you know. He got rid of all those ones. And the righteous were
Right.
left behind because his house is still here. And Ezekiel's there to say, no, actually, you're the bad ones. He's actually rescued those he sent into exile.
Right.
And for instance, one example in his book, he will say, you think Jerusalem's walls will protect you? Like, this is the Lord's city. He says he won't let it fall. And previously he hadn't.
Right. Sure.
Right? The Assyrians came, and in a single night, the angel of the Lord killed 185,000 Assyrians in the days of Hezekiah.
Yeah.
Right.
This morning.
It's like 130 years previous to this. So they know these stories. Oh, the Lord he'll rescue us, and his house is still here. And Ezekiel's like, no, actually, he's making the walls like the walls of a pot, a cooking pot. And you all are the stew meat, and he's just cranking up the fire, and he's putting the lid on, and he's going to burn you to pieces, to dust and ashes, right? Or you have this other weird, Ezekiel lays on his side and builds a little, what I like to think of as a Lego set, Jerusalem,
Right.
to lay siege to, and he builds his little siege ramps. And, you know, people are having to walk around this dude because he's in the road. Like, this is so bizarre.
Yeah. It's not like he does this off in the shadows.
Right? And so he's laying siege day after day after, and people are like, what is going on? He's eating nasty Ezekiel bread, not like the stuff you buy in the store that's supposedly healthy. It's meant to be the garbage bread, the siege rations. You're barely surviving.
This is not a promotion for Ezekiel bread.
No, or Tesla or anything like that, right? Yeah. And curious if Ezekiel bread is cooked over dung or not, you know,
Right.
because the biblical one, this is the one time where Ezekiel, it's actually like the only time Ezekiel ever pushes back against the Lord. Don't make me cook over human dung.
Yeah.
Okay, you can use cow dung.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As if that's substantially better.
Yeah, as if it's substantially better. It's still dung, and he's still laying there. He doesn't ask to have the days shortened. He doesn't ask to not be stuck on a site. He doesn't ask to not cook over dung. He doesn't ask to have better food. Nothing. Just please don't make me use human dung.
Yeah. Which is a remarkable statement on Ezekiel's character and commitment to the prophetic vision, too.
Yeah. This is also related to what I would say why this book matters. Ezekiel, more than the other prophets, is so, again and again, the man of the Spirit.
You did your dissertation on that, didn't you?
Well, I did a theology of the Spirit in the form of prophets, Joshua, Judges, Samuel, Kings, other weird texts, right? The Spirit comes over someone, they go out and kill a bunch of folks. That's how you know the Spirit came over.
Dr. Wadholm, there's a theme in your research that's weird and painless.
Yeah, it kind of is. I just think the problematic texts, at least, you know, I find them intriguing, right? I find them intriguing and I wonder at them. But Ezekiel is, as it were, so consumed by the Spirit, so filled with the Spirit.
Right.
In fact, in chapter 2, it literally says, chapter 2, verse 2, the Spirit came into him.
Right.
Which also doesn't fit our model of the Spirit only came on people in the Old Testament. The Spirit comes in people in the New. Well, what about Ezekiel? He seems to push against that. But he is so consumed by the Spirit that he will only say what the Spirit says, and he will be silenced. Like it, in fact, he will say, like almost like he becomes a mute. He cannot talk.
Yeah.
He will be bound on his side, bound with ropes by the Spirit.
Yeah.
He will be lifted up by his hair. Apparently, it's grown back because in that chapter when he's laying siege, he shaves all his hair off.
Cuts it
Like,
off,
bro, like you shave it all off, and then some of it he cuts with his little knife, and some of it he torches, and some of it he throws up in the air to let the like. What is going on, man? But he is so. I mean, this is one of those fascinating things. It's almost like he's in danger of losing any human personality, any creaturely sense, because he is so yielded to the Spirit. But I think that's one of the other beauties of this book. His name is almost never used.
Really? Wow.
And the Lord actually calls him not by his name, but calls him Son of Man again and again not once, not twice, not 10 times, not 20 times, not 50 times, again and again and again, Son of Man. And some of my writings, I've actually wrestled with this. Why the Spirit and Son of Man?
Yes.
Because
You did a paper you presented in SBS a couple years ago.
Yeah. And I can't remember if it's coming out in a journal soon or a book or something. I've got all these pieces and you never know when they're going to appear. It's kind of like the Lord. When is the Lord going to appear? I don't know. I also don't know when my publications will appear, you know.
You've got another book coming out sometime in the future.
I do. There's a few sometime in the future, you know.
Yeah.
The Lord doesn't return. Anyways, yeah, but it's like that calling him back to his creatureliness, reminding him you're just human. Like you have not been so consumed by the Spirit that you are now, you know. It makes me think of kind of how a lot of times folks will pray. You know, I don't know if you pastor for a long time. You may be gathered with your folks, whether it's your, you know, worship team or, you know, if you had staff or whatever, maybe elders. You'd gather, you'd pray, and whoever's speaking or, you know, if the worship leaders, like, Lord, help me to only say I just only want to say what you say, right?
Right.
And it's sort of leaning into that, but we've kind of lost the sense that maybe the Lord wants us to learn obedience, not to lose control to the Spirit, but to be faithful in committing control to the Spirit, right? There's a sense in which I feel like Ezekiel, the form of it, the very form of the book, pushes us to experience that with him. Wow. Son of Man, full of the Spirit, carried by the Spirit, speaking, anyways, all that.
There's a vision that Ezekiel has. I'm trying to think where it is. It's like in chapter 2, I think, where it says there's a figure that looks like a man.
Yeah. Yeah, right at the end of chapter 1. Yep.
Yeah,
who emerges from like the fire underneath the noble throne. Like he just comes out of this fiery bottom of the throne and like, what?
But he only looks like a man.
He looked like a man. Yeah. What in the world does that mean? Yeah, he looks like a man. Yeah. And what's he doing hanging out there? Like, why is he under the throne? What's going on here?
Yeah. And then you have Ezekiel being, you know, the Son of Man.
Right. So then, I don't know. It's fascinating, right? Like, there's a lot of discussion on this among the rabbis. Like, who is this one like a Son of Man who suddenly appears, like, under the throne?
Are we talking Christophany? Well, in a vision?
A vision of, like, and what does it mean, like a man? It doesn't say he is a man, but he looks like a man.
Yeah.
Somehow the presence of the Lord approaches him through this mediator, which we shouldn't be surprised at because that seems to be the way the Lord has chosen to do things. Right? To offer himself in mediation. It's as close as Ezekiel comes to seeing God, to seeing the God of Israel. He doesn't see the God of Israel. He describes the throne, he describes the wheels, the creatures, but he doesn't describe the one on the throne. But then one emerges that looks like a man from beneath, and you think, oh, where has he been? Was he on the throne? Did he climb off of the throne? Was he hiding underneath? Like, where was this one like a man, you know? Yeah.
Where was he?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So is this queuing us up as well for John's vision in the Revelation, who's overwhelmed in chapter 4 by this similar throne. It's not mobile there, surrounded by glass and like great hosts around. And he's overwhelmed by this experience, and there's no one worthy until there is one announced as worthy, Lion of the tribe of Judah. And then he looks and he sees a lamb. And yes, there is someone there with the one who he only sees his feet and lightning and thunder, right? Now,
and you said earlier that John quotes Ezekiel.
He alludes to, he draws from, he indwells that language and world.
Is it important to kind of see Ezekiel and Revelation together?
Yeah, I think absolutely. Even though I would say they're both saying their own things, right?
Okay.
Ezekiel's not just like the setup for, well, you just need Ezekiel so that you can read the Revelation. Like,
Right.
no, Ezekiel is the church's Bible, right? It's part of the church's Bible. That earliest
Right.
church only had Israel's scriptures as their
Sure.
scriptures.
Sure.
Well, but they were spirit-filled folks who faithfully followed Jesus. You mean it could work without a
Right.
New Testament?
Yes.
What is
Well,
this you speak of?
it did. Yeah.
It did.
It
right?
did for 400 years, really.
Right, for
Yeah.
quite some time. And when you think many churches maybe acquired a gospel, eventually a couple of gospels or the group of
Yeah.
the gospels, they maybe had parts of Paul's letters as they began to be shared and copied. So, but what they did have was Israel's scriptures,
Yes. Yeah.
including the scroll of Ezekiel. And what do you do with this? How do they hear and see the Son of Man here, and also the one who looks like a man connected to the throne? Yeah,
Crazy. Now, one of the big images that people pull out of Ezekiel all the time is the Valley of the Dry Bones.
yeah. Chapter 37.
Yeah, 37. So that's a very emotional, emotive kind of experience.
Yeah.
How would the exile grab that? What would they have felt about that?
As an impossibility. It's totally
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah.
Right. So chapter 37. In fact, this is the message, right? So by this point, actually, the message of Ezekiel shifts. So partway through the book, once
Right.
the actual destruction of the temple and the destruction of the walls and the final deportations happen in 586 BC, suddenly Ezekiel's messages change. Up to that
Okay.
point, he's like, you guys are bad. I'm going to destroy you all. I'm just killing you all. I'm so over you, right? And I'm even going to desecrate your bones. Like, I'm not even just going to let your bodies die. No. I'm going to make sure even your bones suffer, right? You're like, okay, wow, that's wonderful. Okay, Lord.
Okay.
And then once
Lord
it
God.
happens, he goes, you know what? Actually, I'm going to bring you back. And you go, you know, it feels a little late to bring us back when we're nothing but bones and defiled bones.
Yeah.
This is in the early chapters. There's these descriptions. He's going to scatter them around like bones around their altars, right? And you think, okay, so we encounter chapter 30. But when it's actually strange because the vision is not, we're not told what it is until the end. It's a valley of very dry bones. We don't know whose bones they are. And it's almost as if an army was gathered here and lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That's the picture.
And they lost a long time ago. These are like uber dead bones, right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, they're picked clean. The birds have had their fill and they're just, sun bleached. Like this is a battle a long time ago that nobody buried. Talk about shameful.
Yeah.
This land is ruined. This land is so profaned. It's worthless. You cannot do anything to this land. Okay. And the Lord tells Ezekiel, can these bones live? Like that becomes the question. And Ezekiel's answer is, Lord, only you know. You tell me, right? By the way, that's just a good prophetic word. When the Lord asks you a question, and this happens again and again in the scriptures, to the prophetic figures, it's the way to seem wise even when you're not. Oh, Lord, you know the answer, right? Like, okay. Cast it back on him. And then the Lord has him prophesy to the spirit, to the winds, to whatever this is, the ruach, it's the same Hebrew word. And the bones, them dry bones, right? Rattling together, they form. And then muscles, tendons, flesh, like skin, hair, all of that. But now they're almost like a zombie horde because there's no life in them. They're not animated, right? And then again, speak. And when he does, basically this ruach, this breath, this wind, this spirit enters them, and now they're alive. And then we're told the interpretation.
Yeah.
I will bring my people up from their graves. I will return them from exile, right? This is the end of chapter 37.
Yeah.
That this is what this meant. So stop saying we are impossible to redeem. It's over. The Lord has abandoned us. There is no hope in the grave. It's done. It's done.
Yeah.
Almost like, well, we sealed our fate. I guess there's no hope. Well, the Lord says, even from the grave, I can raise you.
Amazing.
It's almost like I've heard that message. It's like almost like that one matters for the church. Like, oh, the grave isn't the last word. Almost like the Lord could raise the dead.
Almost.
And
Yeah.
as if he does, right? But it's a return from exile. That's
Which the whole
specifically what-
resurrection,
Yeah.
that's a bit of a lost emphasis in the
Yeah.
church.
Yes.
We go to heaven, resurrection's kind of missed.
Oh, man. We don't talk appropriately about an embodied future.
Right.
That whatever he's doing, he intends for this creation to be renewed and these bodies to be made new. Whenever it's not for us to get out of this place, go to some ghosty, cloudy place elsewhere. Yeah.
Leave this place behind.
So like Ezekiel, so this vision actually speaks to some of that. It's interesting though, because this is about a return from exile. And he says, I will put my spirit in you and I will bring you back, right? Okay. So wait a second. Did they return from exile? Yes, they did. Ezra brings them back from exile. Nehemiah brings more folks back. They return from exile. We have those books, Haggai and Zechariah. Malachi belongs also to that period, but Ezra and Nehemiah are written as a part of the return to the promised land, rebuilding the temple, the house for the Lord, rebuilding the walls of his city, Jerusalem, where he has put his name, resettling the land, even figuring out who's actually allowed to be here and get property. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Did you marry the right kind of women? You know?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you
We're still following the rules. We're still being Jewish.
So one of my recent things that I just wrote, and I think it'll be out with Hendrickson sometime next year, was literally on this. Did those folks, Haggai, Zechariah, and Ezra, Nehemiah, did they understand themselves living in the fulfillment of what Ezekiel said? I will put my spirit in you. And, surprise, surprise, that is precisely the kind of language we find in Haggai, Zechariah, and Ezra, Nehemiah. That the Spirit was always with them. In fact, this restoration somehow is the Spirit, but then they're looking around and they're going, it feels like we're not quite done yet. It feels like this isn't quite what we were hoping for.
Right.
But so is the Spirit with us? Yes, they testify. In fact, that's how they rebuild the temple. It's not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord.
Right.
That's how they rebuild the temple.
Wow.
And so then
Back to the house again, the temple.
Yeah, back to his house. And I begin to think, so that particular project, so this is literally this passage. So I'm glad you brought this up, Dave. This passage led me to rethink, how did those folks who came back see themselves in relation to the Spirit, which we just talked about, as being filled with Spirit or enjoying the benefits of the Spirit who has brought them back from the impossible, from judgment. And then I thought, well, they clearly are looking around and going, we still got problems. So clearly we're not fully obedient. Like the end of chapter 36 said, he'll put a new spirit in you, a new heart, and you'll be faithful. Well, they weren't being faithful enough that Ezra and Nehemiah are jacking folks up. Like they're beating on dudes to like, you will obey Torah. Right? And you're like, okay, maybe the Spirit's not quite done. But okay, you pastored, I pastored. Let's just be honest. Our folks and us are not done yet either. And so I had this sort of sense of discovery myself that Haggai, Zechariah, Ezra, Nehemiah, they're dealing with the already not yet.
Yes.
The Spirit is present. The Spirit is bringing life where there could not possibly be life.
Yeah.
He is restoring what could not possibly be restored, but we're not there yet.
We're not done yet.
But it doesn't deny the goodness of his current presence with and in and for us. Right. So that's Ezekiel for me. That's the kind of stuff I've discovered in my readings and just meditating, praying, teaching, reflecting on Ezekiel.
I love it, Ezekiel. Well, we've got to the point in the conversation now where there's a reason for people to read Ezekiel.
I hope so. Yeah.
This is the first question. We answered it.
We got through one question. Sorry, Dave. Yeah, one question. Oh, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think, though, that listeners are going to go, oh, there's more here than I realize.
Yeah.
And where can we point them next? This is kind of the end of every podcast. Can you recommend a resource that somebody that would want to know more about it, kind of go a little farther in an accessible way?
Oh man, on the book of Ezekiel. Well, I haven't written it yet. I do actually have a short commentary coming out again, I think this fall on Daniel, Ezekiel, but it won't include all this great stuff. Because it was basically notes that I did for my church that I was pastoring as I took them through week by week. And so that's more like inductive. I think, a good, very accessible commentary, for instance, by John Goldingay, did the Old Testament for everyone. N.T. Wright did the New Testament for everyone. Those are incredibly readable and very helpful. I have given away copies, particularly just to like folks in my church, or like, sometimes Sunday school teachers. For those churches, you still have Sunday school, or like a Bible study group, and they just wanted to read, or devotionally. They're very readable. And Goldingay is just a thoughtful writer.
John Goldingay is good.
Yeah. So that would be helpful, I think, for a lot of people. Yeah.
Now you also, I think we referred to it at SBS a couple of years ago. You presented a paper on Ezekiel and disability.
Yeah.
Where can people get a hold of that? I think that's interesting as well.
That one, maybe it's that one that's coming out. It's supposed to be any day, I think, with the Australian Pentecostal Studies Journal, and that will be freely shareable. If people want, they can always write to me and I can send it to them. Yeah.
How can they write to you?
Wadholm@gmail.com. And they can find my website.
And I forgot it.
Wadholm.com is my site. It's the beauty of having a super original name, that there's only a handful of us anywhere in the world with this name. So
I couldn't find Olson.com.
No, not so much. Yeah.
Somebody in North Dakota or Minnesota has it, I think.
100, maybe 1,000 Olsons in North Dakota and Minnesota. Yeah.
Exactly. I might be related to someone.
Yeah. So
this is awesome.
And at some point I hope to pull together, because I've got all these little pieces, like chapters and articles everywhere on Ezekiel. And I've still got at least 7 years of projects I'm working on Ezekiel. And so I'm thinking at some point I'll just do a book, an edited volume of these writings. I hope to someday maybe do a commentary proper, or a couple of commentaries, different types of audiences. I just love this book.
Yes.
I could find myself drawn again and again. Yeah.
It's obvious. I love your excitement about Ezekiel. I remember I remember taking Ezekiel in Bible college.
Oh, yeah.
My professor was not excited.
Well, I took it too, and that was probably one of the most dry professors I ever had. I really hope he doesn't listen to this podcast. So
he's dead.
Mine is not, but he's not a podcast listener, and let's just hope he doesn't suddenly go, Rick's talking about Ezekiel. I taught Rick Ezekiel. Yeah, not so much.
Yeah, this is fun. Hey, this has been fun. And we just scratched the surface. I just hope our listeners can take some of this and go a little farther, read John Goldingay.
Yeah.
And
if they have any questions about Ezekiel, I love to talk about this book, so they can reach out to me. The socials or anywhere. So yeah.
There you go. There is an open invitation to flood Dr. Wadholm's email, wadholm@gmail.com.
That's it.
And he'll get back to you. And he's active on Facebook.
Oh, yeah. Way too much. Way too much.
He's right on it. So it's good. Hey, thanks again. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks so much for taking the time and talking with us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show today. We normally release about 2 episodes a month, so if you don't want to miss out, make sure to hit the subscribe button. If you enjoy the podcast, it would really help us get the word out if you could take a moment and give us a review and a rating, preferably really, really, really good. Also, if you've got some suggestions for future guests or topics, please shoot me an email. My email address is Dave, D-A-V-E, at theaskatheologianpodcast.com. That's Dave, D-A-V-E, at theaskatheologianpodcast.com. So thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon.